Boxing Voice here with a familiar face, Adam Lopez. You had some time off. Your fight is already being promoted on Showtime. It's going to be the headliner next month in July 22nd. And you're taking on a tough customer. You're taking on an Argentinian. A lot of people are comparing him to Maidana. What do you know about your opponent? How do you feel about coming into this fight?
I know that he's a really good fighter. He's training in Canada right now, 18-1. I think his only loss is to the guy that's fighting Oscar Valdez. So he's a good fighter, and it's gonna be a tough fight.
And you made a change of regiment to Ronnie Shields, and a gym you used to be a part of, and it's in the middle of the heat in Houston. It's real hot, humid. So what's the training like out there with the heat, and also training next to Laura, Charlo, and guys like that?
Yeah, I hate it. I hate the heat. The heat is the worst. And you come in the morning, and the ring is just like soaking wet. You think like it just rained down there. It's not. It's just from the humidity. It's just the worst. But I mean, it's gonna get me in great shape, and the atmosphere of training. I like it a little bit better. Than training here. It's just really me and a couple other guys. But in the gym, there's more competition. Everybody's trying to prove the best. And, I like that atmosphere a lot.
Yeah, in the last year and a half, you were making a lot of noise, especially after you got signed with GH3, and they're pushing you real fast. And here you are, your second headliner at Showtime. What's the talks from the top down, seeing that is this going to be your breakout year?
Yeah, it's kind of like you kind of slow down a little bit because 2015, I kind of broke out, had a really great year, but then it changes once you hit 10 rounds. Once you hit 10 rounds, then you start slowing the pace, and you see more pace like Antoine. Antoine only fought 4 times last year. They were all 10 rounders, all showbox cards, and it's starting to maybe look like that a little bit. But I want my contract has 5 fights, and so I'm gonna use all 5 fights and fight as many times as I can this year.
Yeah, that's a busy schedule, and great for an up and coming young fighter. So I mean, as far as the communication with you and your promoter, what are the talks? Do y'all ever y'all have a game plan that y'all are trying to follow, to close out the year, going into this fight?
Just take one fight at a time, I guess, for right now. Uh, there's no rush. It's gonna be there. I'm already ranked in all the sanctioning bodies, top 10 in 2 of them. So when the right moment comes, it comes, and we're gonna take that opportunity.
Okay, on to this next opponent. He seems to have a similar style to a lot of the fighters that you faced in the past. Come forward strong, guys that just want to break your will. Do you watch tape on him, and what do you know about him?
I watched a little bit of tape on him. I seen his last fight. He did really good his last fight. He's just like a really wild style guy. Throws a lot of wide punches. We're gonna use that to our advantage. But he's durable. I don't think I think it was only been I think he's got stopped 1 time, but that was early in his career. And he's a good fighter though. I mean, he's training in Canada now, so they got good boxing in Canada, and it should be a really good fight.
Yeah, and your journey seems to be going really fast, especially with last year going on, and you're getting a lot of TV time against tough opponents. So, what did you take out of that? Seeing that you had guys that you didn't know much about, and they brought tough fights to you, and you were able to weather the storm and persevere through a tough opponents. Do you think that's going to help you? What are you getting? What did you get out of that going into this fight?
Um, it's kind of like I guess you're right. I mean, all the guys that I fought, they're all tough guys, and I've had to persevere and adapt and change my style and do different things to win fights. But that's a really great experience. I'm getting a lot of experience in becoming a more of a veteran type fighter with very few fights, and only 15 fights. I've learned a lot, and I've done a lot of things, and that's pretty good.
All right. Well, what do you envision when you're thinking about the fight? What do you think is going to happen? What do you think you're going to highlight? And what do you want out of the rest of 2016?
As far as the fight, what I envision, I envision me just being a little bit quicker, being faster, being a little bit more savvy than he is. He's a very experienced fighter, and he's done a lot of things, and I had pretty good trainers, I guess. But I feel that I think I've been through a lot, and I think I've done more than he has, and that experience is going to take me to the next level with this guy.
All right, you're part of that young new talent pool that's getting pushed out pretty hard. So how do you feel about that going into it now? Are you used to being in this position now that, again, it's going to be on Showtime, a headliner, and you're getting more TV time, and where last year that's pretty much was the normal?
Yeah, I kind of like it because out of all my friends, I'm the one on Showtime. But um, it's a lot, actually a lot of pressure because I mean you're on TV on Showtime, and I just gotta keep doing what I'm doing. I gotta keep it up because I don't want to. One loss that's really bad actually in the business. And this guy just came in and ruined the shot right now by walking in.
But no, well, with that said, one loss is that kind of a pressure? Because that's kind of the new mentality with young fighters, where they think a loss is the end of the world. But back maybe like 10 years ago, a loss wasn't really that much. But do you feel that as a prospect, where you gotta not only win, but also how you win is what's important?
Exactly. It's almost like a one and done business. Almost, it's getting to that point because you see a lot of guys that they lose one time and then they got to come back and do a series of tough fights, and it's hell to get back once you were like to the position that you once were at, and it's changed a lot, I guess. You see a lot of fighters like Gabriel Rosado loses all the time, but he comes back. So there's some fighters that make good money that way, but as far as prospects, one and done business, it's crucial that you win. And like what you just said, like on how you win also. You got to get these knockouts, man. Or you at least give an entertaining fight.
All right, and last question: when it comes to weight, like what do you envision? What do you want out of this boxing career? And I know you're comfortable in your weight, but are you gunning for certain titles in certain divisions? And are you looking at certain fighters that you would eventually like to get your hands on?
Just take it. Whoever is number one in the WBA, whoever is number one in the IBF. Those are the guys that I'm hoping I get fights with.
All right. All right, I appreciate the time. I'll definitely make it out to the Plex and check out the preparation before you go. But any last words?
No last words, no ho talk, no nothing like that. I'm trying to get sponsors now.
That's the new Adam Lopez.
the new rated G version of Adam Lopez.
All right, man. Appreciate it. We'll catch up. Rasa, yeah.
Ain't no other sight in the game, 'cause see the boxing voice.